Welcome, people, to Amsterdam Talk, Season 3, Episode 11. And tonight, I bring, a special guest with me. I bring author. Episode 11. Oh, and tonight, and they tell me about feedback, and I do feedback. Episode 11. I bring profound author and speaker, Miss Kimberly Clark. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, really good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Before we get started, tell us about yourself. I mean,
Okay,
your
well,
author, what books or things in that nature.
okay, absolutely. Well, the title of my book is Stuck Between Pleasure and Pleasing God. It's found on Amazon. It's a memoir about my life in the Navy, as well as enduring a military sexual trauma, and then coming home back to the States because I was stationed in Guam, dealing with addiction and alcoholism for about 10 years, right? And so today I have almost 2 years sober. I'm a motivational speaker, a trauma informed care consultant, as well as certified peer support specialist, which is a whole bunch of words just to say I help people recover.
Okay. Okay, but before we even get into that, I just wanted to touch bases what's like really big in the news. So I guess we could call this a new segment, brother, for real current events. We'll start the show. So we have Shanquilla Robinson, who was murdered down in Cabo, Mexico by her so-called friends. That they said it was supposed to be alcohol poison, but when the federales, the authorities got to her, they felt like it was trauma, So basically, it was a head and spine trauma. But the group said that she suffered from alcohol poison, and this was the very first day they got down there. So I'm not understanding it. And basically, what I want to say is, how would you perceive that, Miss Clark, right there? If somebody's telling you it was alcohol poison, but there's severe head and neck trauma and spine trauma.
I mean, I would immediately assume that that's a lie. It was definitely something else going on. I've been seeing a little bit, I've been seeing it all over Facebook, but I haven't really read a lot of the facts that go with it, other than the fact that, of course, the report that said it was alcohol poisoning. I seen the video that surfaced where she was, fighting, and well, she wasn't even fighting. Matter of fact, somebody was fighting her because she wouldn't, throw any hits or anything like that. But I would definitely, have my ears up. Something happened to that young lady, and I hate that it took her life.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So what it basically say is you got to watch who you call your friends, because unfortunately, this generation is actually videotaping this fight and knowing that somebody's been physically hurt. But if you see a person not trying to fight back, just break it up. That's plain and simple. Now, if they were fighting
Right.
back and forth, that's just something different. But one person's not fighting, then it is totally different. But that's what I just wanted to bring out there to those that's watching about that, about Miss Shanquilla Robinson. But now back to our guest right here. You say that you were dealing with uh, substance abuse. What substance were you dealing with?
My drug of choice was alcohol, but I dealt with, cocaine, crack cocaine, pills, methamphetamines at one point. Pretty much everything I could get my hands on, except IV drug use.
Heavy drug use. And this was all when you stated at the beginning that you were in the military.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the alcohol started in the military, but the drugs didn't start till I got home. But it was almost immediately when I got home and got a medical discharge. I was almost immediately, introduced to crack cocaine by family members.
A family member. What city, if we can ask?
Oh yeah, I'm completely open and transparent. Shreveport, Louisiana.
Oh, okay. You're from Louisiana to boot. Okay, Shreveport. I
Yeah,
get it. So you came home. So you said, how many years did you do in the service?
I did too. You know what? I wanted to do 20 years, right? I wanted to retire from it, but after the MST, after the sexual trauma, you know, um, I tried to commit suicide, and they diagnosed me with PTSD, and they made me get a medical discharge.
It was sexual trauma inside the military.
inside the military by an officer, what was supposed to be a friend of mine.
So, so this was bought like rape,
Yeah, it was rape.
rape in the military. Okay, and there was no one you could report. I mean, I guess because it was fellow officers, you couldn't report it.
Oh no, 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 no. There was a report and everything. There was even trial. Actually, I didn't tell anyone at first, but I ended up telling someone about it. Like maybe 2 weeks later. Um, and that person, which is still a good friend of mine today, he went and confronted the guy in front of everybody in the barracks, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that got back to my chain of command, and they had to do something about it. And so they started an investigation. I ended up having to talk to NCIS every day for a few months, right? They had me wear a wire to go talk to the dude to try to get him to confess. They had me call him with the phone tapped to try to get him to confess, right? But that was he never confessed. He said everything but that. He even apologized to me, but never
Mm.
actually said, "Hey, I did this to you," right? And so, and then there was drinking involved at the party, and I can
Mm-hmm.
only remember flashes of things. And so, because there was alcohol involved, after the trial process or whatever, he ended up getting away with it. The charges were dropped and everything. So, but yeah, there was
Mm.
trial. There was all that NCIS and all the works.
So, out of all of that, how did the trial end up?
Yeah, he got away with it. He got away with it. At the beginning of trial, like I was saying, I was stationed in Guam. So after that happened, they wouldn't let me deploy anymore. See, we would
Okay.
deploy for like a few months at a time, and we would go places like Australia, Thailand, Saipan, Singapore, places like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they wouldn't let me get it back on the ship no more because I guess the counselor they made me go talk to could sense the suicidality, and so they wouldn't let me deploy. Um, and I ended up, trying to commit suicide. I had a suicide attempt. I took like 145 pills one day, just trying to end it. And a friend of mine found me in my barracks and saved my life that night. And not too long after that, they medevaced me from Guam to San Diego, and
Mm.
that's when my medical discharge began to happen.
Wow. So, okay, so this was all strength from the trauma of this was like, I guess after the trial when the verdict came, you just decided to say you wanted to end it all.
Oh no, this was when they found out. Like, this is when my chain of command found out about what happened, and they knew they had to do something about it. And at that point, I knew that everybody there found out what happened to me. In my mind, I was thinking like they were gonna look at me different, that everybody was gonna feel sorry for me. Um, I don't know. I just didn't want to be treated differently, and at the same time, like I didn't know how to deal with what just happened to me. I was a virgin. When that happened, I grew up, in the church and the Word of God, and I wanted to give myself away biblically, and
Mm.
that's what my plans were, to wait till I got married, and I was steadfast on that. And He took that chance away from me. He took that choice away from me, and so I just, yeah, I didn't know it. I didn't know what to do with myself. So they sent me to San Diego. I didn't, like I said before, like I didn't want to leave the Navy. I did not want to leave, but they made me leave
Mm.
after I was diagnosed with PTSD.
Mm. So they made you leave.
Hmm.
So you went. So you were in San Diego. So they sent you back to San Diego. Then they sent you back to Louisiana.
Right. Correct. Correct.
And so all of this going on from the PTSD. So now you back in Shreveport. So now you're trying. I'm not saying you're trying, but I guess you're trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Suppress the trauma.
No, that's exactly it. I was trying to suppress. I was trying to cope. I was trying to cope any way that I could. I didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling. Um, I mean, at that point, I didn't know much about drugs because I grew up kind of sheltered, away from
Mm-hmm.
the world kind of we weren't allowed to do parties and stuff like that. And yeah, I didn't know much about drugs or anything other drug life because I'm not hood. I'm country. I'm real country. Like I grew up in Shreveport for a few years of my life, but I'm born and raised in Castro, Louisiana, which is a town like our population is about less than 1,000 people. So that's where I was born and raised. And
Okay,
so
in that town, that's like everybody knows everybody.
right, everybody's related in some kind of way. Yeah.
Okay. So you came back, so you suppressed it to run away from the trauma. So was it just um I guess was the family member that gave it to you, he would just say, "Hey, try this," or you were curious about it, or how did that go?
A mixture of both. I came home, from the military. I was broken, full of fear, looking for any way to cope. And I went out partying with my aunt, my cousin, and my cousin's boyfriend. And we ended up in my cousin's boyfriend's house. And so my aunt, my cousin's boyfriend, they were in the kitchen doing something off of a can, right? And so
Hmm.
and of course I'm country. I didn't know what they were doing. And the house that we were at didn't have any electricity. We had been out all day, drinking, riding, listening to music. And it was raining, and I think my cousin's boyfriend had a warrant or something, and he was trying to get
Hmm.
off the road. It was just this whole thing. But anyway, yeah, we got to that house, and they were doing something in the kitchen, smoking something off of a can, and I could see the lighter flickering, flickering, flickering. I'm like, what they got going on in there? You know what I'm saying? So I went and I asked my aunt. I'm like, hey, what's that? And she was like, baby, this is crack cocaine. And like the way she introduced me to it was like, she was introducing me to a person. And
Hmm.
so I had the audacity to ask, can I try it? And at first she was like, nah, I don't want no parts of that. But then when she found out that, I had money, it was kind of different. And so they let me smoke it off of a can. At first I put up to my nose because I didn't know what I was doing. And as soon as I hit the can for the very first hit ever, you know, I
Hmm.
felt numb. I finally didn't feel anything, and it was the feeling I've been searching for. And I just felt good. And so I truly believe that I was hooked from the very beginning. And
Hmm.
um yeah, that same night when the high was coming down,
Hmm.
I don't remember all of this, so this is what people told me that happened. So apparently I had like a knife or a screwdriver or something. I was in the middle of the road. It was like, I don't know if it was a state of psychosis or what, but I was in the middle of the road and the policeman came and he saw me. He was like, trying to calm me down, like, hey, it's okay, whatever you're going through, because like I said, it was a small town, so everybody knew that's that girl came home from the military, you know.
Okay.
And so yeah, I went to the hospital that night and was going to ended up getting out of the hospital, um, and starting to look for it on my own.
Mm. So now it was
Yeah,
basically start looking for it on your own because I guess it is the old saying you was trying to chase that high, that feeling that you got that first time, and which nobody ever gets again. So you
that's
basically
true.
just chasing that first high, and people think you can get high again like that. You can never get high like that again. So
No.
so you leave the hospital. So now you start to go purchasing on your own. So what
Hmm.
starts to happen once you start to purchase it on your own now?
Um, I knew who to talk to and who not to talk to, right? I knew,
Hmm.
some people who sold it, but would tell my family. So I kind of I tried to avoid them, right? And so I would go end up at trap houses um, with another cousin because I didn't want to go alone. I didn't want it
Hmm.
I didn't want to be taken advantage of, right?
Hmm.
And I didn't want to feel like an addict.
Right.
So I kind of took somebody with me, I guess, for accountability, protection, and just to reassure me, hey, but just because you're doing this don't mean you're a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to feel
Right.
like that at that point. But the word got back to my brother. My brother lives in Arkansas, Little Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and which
Mm-hmm.
is like a 5, 6 hour drive. And so he found out. He immediately came home that same night at like midnight that night and did an
Mm.
intervention with a few of my cousins. They did an intervention. You know, he told me he loved me. He didn't want to see me go down that path. He was extremely so mad at my aunt, you know, for introducing me to it. And I went to rehab not for the first time, not soon after that, in Temple, Texas.
Mm. So
Yeah.
was it just the one time in Temple, Texas, or it was like, because some people go and they check out and they go back and then they just keep going back and forth. So it was just the one time.
Oh God, no. I had a 10-year addiction. I went, you know, to what about maybe 11 or 12 different rehabs. I went to
Mm.
psychiatric units at least 34, 35 times.
Mm.
At around the last maybe 5 years of my addiction, I found myself in and out of jail, right? All directly related, you know, to addiction and alcoholism. There was, man, just in and out, in and out. And one of the things, the main things that like that kept me bound, that kept me out there was relationships, right? Because
Right.
like I had some daddy issues growing up. My dad wasn't around. When he was around,
Mm-hmm.
he was always barefoot with the bottle of W.L. Weller. He was always drunk, you know, or
Mm.
drinking. And so I had those issues. I had the self-esteem issues, you know, from being called ugly or too fat or too something. So I didn't like me. I didn't love me either, right? And so I had
Mm.
those issues. And so what I would always pick people because they liked me or because they showed me some attention. I just, you know, wanted to get love in any way that I could. And
Right.
so, yeah. And so me looking for love, wanting love, I went to, sorry about that. I went to, one moment. So I'm sorry about that. So
Yes,
I
bro.
went to, okay, okay. So I started going to this Narcotics Anonymous meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I met this older guy. For some reason, I had these things with older guys. It ain't for some reason, but because of my dad. So I had this thing with older guys. Met him. He became my sponsor, and
Mm-hmm.
like I basically, you know, kind of fell in love with him. He was at,
Mm.
but like you're not supposed a female is only supposed to get a female sponsor and a male is only supposed to get a male sponsor. I didn't know that at the
Mm-hmm.
time, but he did, right?
Right.
So yeah, so he completely took advantage of that. He completely took advantage of like my weaknesses, my anxieties, my fears. He took advantage of all of that because you know I was so vulnerable. And yeah, like he I thought that we were in a relationship. I had like maybe 4 or 5 months clean at this time. I thought we were
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship. You know, he made it seem like we was in a relationship, and then like come to find out, you know, like he was married the whole time, and he would like pick
Mm.
arguments. Yeah, right. He would pick arguments with his wife, so his wife wouldn't come to the meetings when I showed up to the meetings, so we wouldn't meet. I mean, like really manipulative stuff like that, you know. And so to yeah, I ended up finding out he had a wife. I was completely devastated. I was so hurt. I went and called some of the other women that was at the meeting too, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
kind of get some support, to get some help, to get to
Right.
get some support and get some help. And they turned on me. Like they was like, "Oh no, we don't want to talk to you." I mean, like he had that much power in the meeting over people to where you know they didn't want to have anything, even though I didn't do anything wrong, right? I was the one that was used and manipulated. You know, they chose his side, and so they just took me on an even downward spiral. And
Mm.
over the course of 10 years, like that's what was my downfall. Relationships. It was always with older men. because of those daddy issues, right? And it was always with narcissists or people who were manipulative or people who took advantage of me or used me for money or something like that. It was always in that arena.
Mm. So you said you were in and out of jail. Was it you going in and out of jail because you were doing things to get the drugs, or you just were just going to jail because you had possession?
A little bit of both. Some of it, one time was domestic with my ex husband.
Hmm.
Um, he would he would know my triggers, right? He would, you know, like at first it was the love bombing, in the beginning stages of it. Then it was like the to let me see how far we can take her. I remember being about 7 months clean when I met him, and I'm telling him like, hey, I'm a totally different person when I'm using. Like, I don't want to ever be that person again. And I remember him saying, I mean, I want to meet her. I want to meet her. Like, kept saying that but I thought he was joking, right? There were
Mm.
so many red flags that I ignored because, again, I wanted love. Like, I wanted to be wanted, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, he was just completely manipulative. He would, eventually go get the drugs for me and bring it back. Um, Supposedly because he didn't want me to leave home, right? But
He didn't use.
he was alcoholic. He was
Okay.
alcoholic, but drugs, no, no.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he would be, emotionally abusive, calling me stupid and retarded. And I mean, just all these just nasty words, right? Or I've had better than you. I can do better than you. And because he's older, he was 30 years my senior, and he had did, 20 years in Angola, right? And so,
Mm.
uh, to him, he was just this, stand up guy back in the day or whatever, because he used to be a drug dealer, and that's what he went to jail for selling drugs. And so he was like,
Hmm.
oh man, I used to have all kind of different women, look way better. I mean, just all kind of stuff feeding into my low self esteem, feeding me like making sure that I know like he's the prize. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right.
lucky to have him. I gotta, keep him around. He would do stuff like that. Also physically abusive. We would fight. um, he would hit me, I would defend myself. There were times I hit him too. And
Mm.
so the whole relationship was just extremely, extremely toxic. And then, I found out about his sexuality as well. Um, at first, I would hear things, in the street because I didn't grow up in Shreveport, not all my life,
Mm.
but he did. And I would hear stuff, about him being bisexual and stuff like that. And when I tell you, like, that was the most devastating thing ever, because I'd already felt ugly. I'd already felt like,
Right.
I looked like a man. I'd already had all these daddy issues. I already had all this low self esteem. And for him to, be bisexual and not tell
Hmm.
me and not admit that to me, I felt like, man, do I look like a man? Is that why he want me? Or why is he with me? Is he using me, what I'm saying, for money? Because he had like maybe a part-time job or whatever whenever we first met. And
Mm.
so that's how low and how bad that made me feel. And when I tell you I seen all the red flags in the beginning, like all the femininity, and I mean just all of the signs were there, but I chose to ignore them.
Wow. Well, so so you said he did 20 years in Angola.
Right.
Okay. All right. So how long were y'all married?
7 years, but 5 of those years I was in active addiction.
Okay. So the following, so 2 years then you were sober.
Actually, not even for that full year I was sober. Um, but it didn't get, to that point until about 2 years in, until to where I was just out there, just accepted it and was like, you know what, this is just how it's gonna be.
So I'm guessing how far did you go to go get drugs? Like how what was the furthest length that you had to go?
Um, Promiscuity, um, prostitution. I never stole or anything like that. Um, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so so 10 years go by. So what was your turning point? What woke you up to say you don't want to do this anymore?
Okay. Yeah, so like I have two kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. And
Where hold on, before you get to that, were they born during your days, during your addiction days?
my 7-year-old was born during my addiction. My 10-year-old, she was a product of my addiction.
Okay. She
Yeah.
any complications with her when she was born?
No, I had no complications with neither one of them, and that's only by the grace of God. But yeah, my son, I
Okay.
was directly in active addiction when I was pregnant with him and when I had him.
Okay. All right. So you
Hmm.
said you stopped because you had two kids.
Right. No, not just having my kids, but like my kids was with my mom, right? Because
Oh,
and that's one thing I'm proud of myself for doing, because I knew that I wasn't being the type of mother that they needed. I knew that I couldn't do what they needed me to do. And I knew I couldn't, watch them, like, support them, love them the way that they deserved and the way that they needed. And so, I gave my kids to my mother because
hmm.
I, for those reasons, and also because I didn't see an end in sight. I didn't want to stop, and I was honest with myself about that, because like I had a desire to have a desire to stop, but the the initial desire wasn't there. But I didn't want to ever put my kids in danger or anything, and so that is one thing I'm very proud of myself for doing, for being honest enough to know that they needed more than I can give them at that time. And so yeah, I was back and my kids were with my mom. I was back and forth to come see them in and out of their lives, and I noticed I gave them abandonment issues, because
Right.
anytime I would just walk outside to smoke a cigarette or something, they would think I was leaving. Like, Mama, when you coming back? When you coming back? Where you going? And I'm like,
Mm,
and that just destroyed me, right? Because with my daughter, I had her like the first 2, 3 years of her life.
mm,
Even though I was kind of, you know, I guess in and out of addiction, she all she knew was me, right? And so,
mm,
but with my son, it was different. My mother had him, but he still knows me as mother. Like, I would not be there, but I was there, if that makes any sense. Like, I was still
that
in
makes
their life.
sense.
Okay, yeah, I was still in their life on a consistent basis too. And so yeah, man, I was there, but I wasn't. Um, I got I got tired of seeing their faces whenever I would leave, and I honestly
Mm,
got tired of living outside of my character, living outside what I knew to be right. I
right.
knew that there was that God had a calling on my life, right? And I knew that God gave me an
Mm,
anointing. I knew that there was something powerful for me to do. Um, and I wanted to explore that. I wanted to find out what that was, because even in active addiction, I got convicted about stuff that other people didn't. Like, other people could go, like, even with the promiscuity and stuff like that, I got convicted about that. I could never manipulate nobody, could never take advantage of nobody, none of that, because I got convicted about stuff like that. And I would always be the one getting taken advantage of because I had a heart. And of course, you're not really supposed to have a heart in the game, in a game like that. But I did.
right.
I couldn't help it. And so I got tired of not being me. I figured out who I didn't want to be. Now I was ready to find out who I did want to be. And so at that time, it was what, the end of 2020. There was still the pandemic. Everything was still kind of shut down and stuff. And so I knew that I was gonna have to quit on my own, because no rehab was was really opening, really letting people in. So I knew I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to do more of it on my own than anything. And so that's what I did. I came home to my mother's with my kids for 30 days before I got into a rehab, and I was able to quit on my own and go to rehab. And I started doing EMDR therapy. And
What's that?
EMDR. It's trauma therapy. Now, don't quote me on this. I think it's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. It's
Oh,
I'm gonna give it like a, I guess, kind of the gist of what it is. But you with your counselor, and there's this green light. It's a medical device. It has a green light that goes from left to right at different speeds. And so they
mm,
ask you questions while you're watching that light go, just with your
mm,
eyes from left to right. And you answer a certain series of questions or talk about a certain thing, more than likely your trauma. And it rewires your brain in some kind of way to where you don't be as affected as, or you're not reliving it every time you think about it. Because I was
right.
reliving stuff every time I thought about it, and it was affecting my life. It was controlling my life. And so EMDR was a game changer. And you talking to somebody that's not tried, I don't know how many therapies and medications under the sun. I took like 30 different antidepressants, mood stabilizers, anxiety medication, all that, to try to heal.
Mm.
And
What
nothing
about
stuck.
methadone? Methadone?
Suboxone. I've tried Suboxone.
Suboxone? Suboxone.
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm Yeah, I
So
tried
the ER.
Suboxone.
No, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Go
I'm
ahead. Go
sorry.
ahead. I didn't cut you off. No, no, go ahead. You go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. But yeah, I did Suboxone for like a year. And
Mm-hmm.
then like I missed one appointment or something. And I missed a group. I missed a group session. You got to go to group sessions and the calls and the random urinalysis and stuff like that. And so they completely took me off, like without no kind of help or anything, nothing to help me get,
Mm-hmm.
with the withdrawals. And I don't know if you know, but Suboxone has the worst withdrawals. It's for to me, it's worse than heroin. Like I went through withdrawals for 20, 26 days straight. I'm talking about restless
Mm.
legs, body aches, vomiting, um, fever, headaches that felt like migraines. Just a very horrible detox. And so I relapsed. Trying to,
Mm.
I called and called and called the VA. I'm like, I need something to help me get off of this. Since y'all took me completely off for missing an appointment, you know, I need some help getting off of this. They wouldn't help. They
Mm.
wouldn't send me anything to help me. Nothing but ibuprofen, and
Mm.
that was it. Yeah,
So after they switched ibuprofen, how did you wean? How did you really wean off of it?
I got high a different way. Honestly, I started drinking again because I was clean, like
Mm.
so to speak. Whenever I was doing Suboxone, I wasn't drinking or
Okay.
doing crack cocaine or doing, the pills, of course, or the methamphetamines. I was, you know, just doing a Suboxone, going to meetings, and it seemed to be working for me. But when they took me off, it was, straight. It was hell to go through that.
Mm.
Yeah, and so I went and got high another way. When I got drunk, and that
Mm.
just put me back out there, chasing it every day, all day.
Okay. So now you when does the chase really end?
The chase really ended January 3rd, 2021.
So what
Yeah,
brought you to that point?
yeah, that's when I started, wanting to be a mother to my kids. That's when I went to the rehab and started doing the EMDR therapy. Um,
Okay.
that's when I yeah, that's when I started a meeting down here in my hometown. Because at first I didn't have a vehicle. Um, and Shreveport is 50 miles away, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the means to try to get up there every day for a meeting. So I started one other than doing some online. I did that. I started saving, got a vehicle so I can get to where I want to be. I went and got certified as a peer support specialist. And I didn't think, because like I get income from the VA. So technically I
Mm-hmm.
really don't have to work, but I I don't know what shifted this time. This last time something shifted, and all of a sudden I want to walk in my purpose. I want to live doing my purpose every day. And so I went and got certified, as a peer support specialist. And I'm like, you know what? with a background like mine, I don't think I can get a job, a good job at that. And I don't want to work just anywhere. But I applied, and now I work for the state, as a peer support specialist. I work for the Louisiana Department of Health, Behavioral Health at that, you know, and even could have got was going to get hired at the VA as well with a background like mine, and that's grace. That's nothing but grace and mercy for somebody to have a background but get a state job and federal job as well. And so yeah, I started doing peer support. I started volunteering for Mission 22, which is a national nonprofit who raises awareness for veteran suicide. 22 veterans that commit suicide every day. And, I could have easily
Mm.
been one of those 22. And so I volunteer for
Well,
that as well. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I started
So
my
I
business.
go.
Oh, go ahead.
What's your business? No, go. What's your business? Go ahead, because I can always come back to my
Okay.
question. What's your business?
Uh, it's called Motivation from the Heart. It's motivational. I do motivational speaking. And I'm rolling out a coaching program January 2023.
Mm. Okay. So
Yeah.
you went back. So you found your purpose. Now my
Hmm.
question is, anybody, since you've been working with Mission 22 and all these other peer groups, and you started this your own uh your own meetings, has there anybody that you were out there hanging with actually come to you and like stereotype you, like, now you think you're better and all this other stuff? Have you been able to clean up some of the people that you were running with?
Oh no, they some of them, like, they'll hit me up on Facebook or something on Messenger and be like, "Hey, I'm proud of you, blase blase," and I try to have that conversation, but then that'll be the end of that. They don't really want to hear that at that point. And then other people, um, they, you know, I don't. It's something about when you start to walk in your purpose, when you start doing the right thing. People don't like to see you doing better than them, or they don't like to see you doing better. Period. You know, I guess they just need something to talk about. But yeah, some of those people, they didn't like me, you know, exceeding their expectations that they had on me. And so there were some, I was able to plant the seed in, but I mean, I can't cure people, right? I can only, live by example and show them that there's another way.
Okay. So how was the relationship with you and your aunt?
Mm, it's okay, I guess. Um, she sometimes still lives a lifestyle that I don't agree with. Um, and so I really, it's not healthy for me to kind of to be around her. Like, I love her. Um, I will forever love her, but I know what's healthy for me and I know what's toxic for me. And
So you
she's,
forgave her?
yeah, I've forgiven her.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that's a big thing right there, because normally when someone takes someone down a dark path and they get themselves back on track, they seem to never forgive that person. But that is huge right there, that you forgave, because at the end of the
Right.
day, you made a choice. She just offered,
Right.
and you made a
Right.
choice. So, and it just became that way. But I'm glad that you actually have the relationship. What about your brother?
My brother, I'm the baby of three, and so all of us are super close. And my dad, I have half brothers and sisters too. My dad, the Rolling Stone, but um, after because he passed, he died from alcoholism, and after he passed, they kind of wanted to get close after that, my half brothers and sisters, but um, yeah, we're getting there. But yeah, me and my brother and my sister, we're extremely close. They're my biggest supporters, my biggest encouragers. I have a really, really supportive family, supportive and loving family, and I'm really blessed with that.
So now, how was it when you go outside? Do the kids still feel abandonment, or they just like, all right, I see you when you come back?
Yeah, yeah, I finally broke that. Yeah, they're like, okay, mommy, that's it, and I'm so thankful for that. Yeah, they're okay now. They know that I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. I'm actually like a loving, present, kind, reliable mother today. and I'm
So
thankful for
you have them
that.
full time?
Say again?
You have them full time now?
Yes, yes. I'm at them
That's
24/7.
good. That's good. That's
Hmm.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So now we're gonna speak about, as far as like the books that you wrote, your books, like, how did the books come
I
about?
Man, like you ain't gonna believe this one, but I got the title of my book when I was a teenager. Um, God is um giving me dreams, right? And so I
Hmm.
had a dream about the title of that book. I've had dreams, kind of like prophetic dreams ever since I was younger. And so I had the title of the book. I knew I was gonna write a book as a teenager. And it took me all of 2021 to write it, but it took me like 2 months to write an outline for it. But after
Hmm.
that, the other 10 months I was writing it. But yeah, I always knew I was going to write a book. And in 2021, when I finally, got sober and I knew that this was going to be the last time, I knew it was time for me to
Hmm.
tell my story, for me to speak my truth.
Well, you never told. I know what the name of the book is, but you never told the guest what the name of the book
My
is.
bad. It
I know.
is.
I just put it up on the
Yes.
screen,
Okay, okay. Yeah, it's stuck
but you
between
could tell
pleasure and
them.
pleasing God. Okay.
Okay, and it's on Amazon,
Yeah.
correct?
It is on
It's
Amazon,
on.
Barnes and Noble as well.
Okay, all right. So
Yeah.
you wrote you dreamt of the book as a teenager. So you wrote the book less than,
Hmm.
well, almost 2 years, because it's almost 2023. Damn, this year didn't flew by.
Yeah.
It's almost 2023.
Uh,
So it's been 2 years now. So the book is out.
hmm.
Uh, I'm trying to think what I wanted to say about. Is it anything about like you're telling your truths in there, but is it any like a part two possibly could come out of this?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually almost finished with writing my second book. It's not really a memoir. It's a self help spiritual kind of book. It's about your mindset. It's about changing our perspective, thinking in a positive light, and thinking about solutions, right? Because man, if whew, I want people to heal. I didn't know the power of healing, man, and the only way that I healed was facing those traumas, starting from childhood all the way to teenager, military, even as an adult in active addiction. I had to heal those things that were bringing me down, that were keeping me sick, that were keeping me bound, that were keeping me in a life I didn't even want to be in. Because there were times out there when I was getting high when the high wasn't even high, and
Mm.
the drugs, weren't even good. I had people poison the drugs I was using. I mean, the whole lifestyle is just dangerous in itself, especially for somebody who didn't grow up in the hood, who don't know the game. So it
Right.
was just completely dangerous lifestyle. And yeah, I want people to heal. Definitely want people to heal, and it starts with our mindset. And so that's why I wanted to write another book about mindset, something straight to the point, not that long. It just, it has different areas about, how we change our mindset, how we change the way we think about things.
Now, how do you do that? How do you change the way that you think about things?
Well, it starts with how we look at ourselves and how we see ourselves. Like how we see ourselves is really how we view the world. And so we start on that inner work and start working on us as a people, right? Me as a woman, you as a man, then we can start building from there. You got to always start with a firm foundation, and the foundation is us, our inner work. When we start changing us on the inside, all that stuff, the way we view things will be so much better in a more positive light, and we'll be able to build and grow and heal.
Well, okay, you say that change your mindset, but then the thing is, with that as well, you got to change your circle sometimes as well, because like
Mm-hmm.
you said, probably maybe about 5 minutes ago,
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things, people don't want to see you do good. Well, people don't want to see you. They want to see you do good. They just don't want to see you do
Mm-hmm.
better than them. That's really the whole thing. The point of the case it is.
Right.
So, like, you have to remove those from around you
Mm-hmm. That's
and that
true.
nature. And you say also your mindset with it. Like, how would you tell with you being where you are now and you being a self
Mm.
help and helping others? How would you tell someone how to face their own demons?
Well, I know that. Like, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a clinician, right? But the way that I
Mm,
face mine is, EMDR therapy, also talk therapy. Um, One thing I can help with, is like journaling, and also, just kind of using the skills and the knowledge that I've learned. And the major part of, my healing and my growth is being honest, being open minded, and being willing. Right? It's not some, magic thing that helps us heal. Right?
right.
It's work. It's inner work. But we have to be willing to be honest to do that work, and face those things one at a time.
Well, you said probably the most dangerous word people are scared of: work.
Work.
Like, and
Right.
no, I'm not saying like work as far as to go to work and have a job, but as far as like work, because if you put in the work is going to take care of you. That's what I believe. Like if I put in this work, it's gonna take care of me at the end. So but a lot of
Right.
people, what they see these days is they see the finished product. They don't really see what
Mm,
goes behind the scenes. And somebody who may not know you, and if I just sat here through this story, I mean, I just sat through the story, but if I met you personally and you say, yeah, I've been 2 years cleaning, I probably be like, oh, okay, you just stopped. Not from you just what
mm,
you telling me from 10 years that I tried, I went back, I tried, I went back. So the work was
mm.
being done, and you, like you said, you were in the game and you had a heart. And you can't
Right.
have a heart in that game.
Right.
It's cutthroat.
It is.
It's
It
it,
is
it's cutthroat
roguish.
at all time. Brothers
Yeah.
will turn on brothers. Best friends will turn on best friends. I mean, it's all about what
Hmm.
is over with, and especially
Right.
when money's involved. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you
Yeah.
probably seen some crazy shit out there between people that you
Yes.
thought were probably the best of friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man.
But yeah, it sounded like it was an incredible journey from what I listened to, and I'm definitely proud of you myself
Hmm.
that you were actually able to, rise from the ashes like the phoenix,
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
definitely, have build your relationship back with your children, wipe that
Mhm.
anxiety away from them every time you hit the door. They're like, okay,
Right.
you're coming back, and you forgiving your aunt, and now you're out helping others. And this is truly a success story from that. I forgot the name of your town,
Yeah.
but you said it's very small, but it's 50 miles from Shreveport.
Caster. Caster. Yeah. Yeah.
Cassie,
It's all right.
Castor.
It's normal. Yeah.
So you've been speaking, motivational speaking. Where have you spoke at?
Oh man, I've done some things. I've done it. New Life Recovery was my very first one. I spoke at a moral injury symposium in Houston, Texas. Um, I've spoke at the Goodwood Library in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Spoke at a few churches in Shreveport. I've done plenty of podcasts, a few TV interviews. I started, my speaking journey back in August this year after doing a recovery speakers course.
Mm-hmm.
And since August, I've done 17 different, speaking engagements, podcasts, interviews, TV appearances, things like that. And so now, now I also work as an affiliate with the recovery speakers course to help other people tell their recovery story. It's a course completely for people in recovery to learn how to package their message and tell their story powerfully.
Mm, that's definitely
Right.
it's definitely so now you found your purpose.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And it
So
feels great.
this could, I mean, is so what would you tell somebody that just just started getting high, just started getting high? What would you tell them?
That the the very first high that they got was the last time they would ever feel like that. Um, you'll never get that high again. After a while, you don't even get high anymore because you're thinking about all the things that you could be doing, you should be doing. But instead, you're getting high. You're missing life. Life passes by so quickly, especially when we're getting high because we meet the wrong people, some people who do not care about us no matter what they say or do. They do not care. The people who gives us the drugs don't care about us. at all. They don't even care about themselves. And so the life of getting high, and getting drunk just to function, even though it's kind of, glorified and glamorized, it's not the life none of us were meant to live. It takes away from who we truly are, our power, our worthiness, the wonderful, fearfully made people that we are. And so getting high will not help you grow. It won't help you heal. It'll only make you stagnant. And there are people who love you, and you are needed on this in this world, and the world is waiting on you. So it's not worth it, but you have to make a decision that you're not going to go down that path, because I know you've heard more than one terror story about addicts, about, crackheads, if you will, about alcoholics, whatever you want to call it. I know you've heard other stories, and it all ends the same, either jails, institutions, or death. So you got to choose not to even go that route.
Mm. That sounds very well. That definitely sounds good. But definitely, I thank you for coming and explaining your story to us. And
Thank you for
hopefully
having me.
that's,
It's an honor.
oh man, yeah, yeah, it's definitely an honor for you to come. And I'm hoping somebody purchase. I mean, well, somebody's going to buy your book because I'm going to get it as well. That's on
Awesome.
Amazon, and you said it's in where else it is again?
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Nobles. The book is called "Stuck Between Pleasure and Pleasing God" by Miss Kimberly Clark. And the
Yeah.
hard part
Yeah.
is, and this is a sidetrack of it, I have a well, rest her soul. And when you sent
Mhm.
it early, and I'm like, my eyes will deceive me because my aunt's name's Kimberly Carter.
Oh
And when
wow.
you sent me the message, I'm sitting here like, I know my aunt just. I'm like, my aunt. No, this ain't my aunt. You know, email side. They keep looking back at it like, hold on, like this
Wow.
says Clark, not Carter. And I just thought about it. And the same thing is, you know, she went down that same road as you went down, and
Wow.
in and out, in and out, in and out. And like you said, is I'm she's been gone for 12 years now. So it's been
Yeah.
down the
My
same road.
condolences.
Basically, I'm a finish. I'm a stop. I'm a stop. I'm a stop. But eventually, like you said, there's only two ways, and we wound up burying her on my 28th birthday.
Mm. Well, I'm
So
so sorry. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was crack cocaine was found in her system when she passed away.
Yeah.
So that was definitely that one. So that was just a thing I thought about earlier. I'm like, wow, this is like crazy right here. You're telling
Yeah.
the story, and basically y'all last name are separated by a few letters,
Right. Right. Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So, but this is the part of the show where everything goes crazy right now. I don't know if you watched the show when I sent you the interviews. The
Yeah.
part that's called "I Be Damned." This is where
Oh
we
Lord.
we have a we have a story from the gas station today. So this starts at a gas station down in North Carolina. So she says, so I met this guy at a gas station. Yes, the gas station, and we hit it off. Exchanged numbers and carried on phone conversations for the next few days. He soon popped the question. That means he asked me out on a date, which I happily accepted. The day prior to our first date, he calls me and says, "How would you feel about going Dutch?" I said, "Oh, I've never been to a Dutch restaurant." Sounds exciting. Secretly hoping he didn't mean what I thought he meant by the question. He then went on to clarify that he deemed it unnecessary for him to pay for the entire date because if later on down the line we decide that we don't like each other, I will not have wasted my money. He then went on to say that he's developed a lot of long lasting friendships by going Dutch. Duh, you moron. I'm not a gold digger or money hungry. However, if you ask me out, you pay. That's the rule. Needless to say, we never went out. I do not want to date a cheap ass man. That's how she ended it. And this is one of the stories that I say I have to agree with because I feel like whoever asks should pay,
I agree.
unless
100%.
yeah. So but like I said, when I started reading, when he said he wanted to go Dutch, I'm like, she said she thought it was a restaurant. I'm like, oh boy, this is get ready to go left, but it didn't go as left as I thought it would.
Right, right.
But but you could have went. I mean, you didn't have to do nothing that big. You could have had a quick meet and greet at a Starbucks or something in that nature. Didn't have to spend
Yeah,
all that expensive money.
yeah.
But
It just depends on the situation. Like, I don't know. It depends on the situation. Like, I do agree. You know, if you ask somebody out, then yeah, of course, you know, treat them because you asked, right? But like,
mm-hmm.
it's just certain situations. Like, okay, you know, let's go half. Let's you know. But I don't know. 99.8% of the time, no. If you ask, you're paying.
Yeah, that's how I feel. If you ask, you pay, and if you know you can't pay, don't ask.
Right.
But other circumstances do happen when you get to the restaurant where though you may ask, but the other person be like, you know what, yo, you paid for the last one. I got this one, or something else may just happen, or they may just say, yo, I want to help you out. You pay for this, I'll pay for the drinks. You pay for the meal, I'll leave the
Right.
tip. It can go many other ways, but that's just how I feel. If you pay for it, if you ask, you should pay for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but once again, thank you for coming. And for those that's out there listening, tell them where they can find you at, Miss Clark,
All
if they
right. You
need to
just go
speak to
to
you.
All right. You just go to www.kimberlycares.info. All my contact information, all my booking information, my book, everything is on their website. So I hope to hear from you guys soon.
And thank you again for coming through Amsterdam Talk and
Yes.
sharing your story. So I hope it touched somebody out there and it reached somebody to stop doing what they're doing and get themselves right. You know, it's almost 2023. You got to get yourself right. As they always say, don't let God find you.
Mm,
Old folks
I
always say
love
that. You
it.
better find God. Don't let him find you.
Yes,
On that
indeed.
note, we'll be back next week at 8 o'clock. Is the holiday season, and I know some of you will be around your loving family and your grandparents. Some of them may be suffering from Alzheimer's. So next week we bring out Alzheimer's awareness. We have someone talking about a disease that nobody talks about really.
Mm.
So see y'all next week at 8 o'clock for Alzheimer's awareness. Um, thank you, Miss Clark, and that's it for the night.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man.
Uh,
I had a blast. Thank you.
thank you for coming through.
All right.
All right, brother, for you cut it.